All right. It is Thursday. It is 3 o'clock. Actually, it's 3:09, but close enough. So that only means one thing for you and me, Ron. What is it?
Happy hour.
It's happy hour. Cheers to you.
Cheers. Hey,
I think
David,
last
can I
week.
totally hijack this? I know you're about to set the
Yeah.
show. Can I totally hijack this?
Sure.
I'm thinking it's happy hour. It's Thursday. It's noon where I am. It's 100 degrees already. It's going to be 107 or something today. But the whole thing about how I'm hijacking this, it's so appropriate to be drinking ice cold beers. I've been on the wagon. I've been on sobriety binge for about 2 weeks. So I'm so forward looking at this cold beer. But it's also peak sports season. It's the best season. Like, we should have just talked about sports this whole time. We got the March Madness. We have the baseball classic just finished. We have spring training wrapping up. We have the best golf ahead of us. I mean, heck, I think the Masters is only in a few weeks. It's just, I mean, this is the horse racing. We're starting to approach, the Kentucky Derby. I mean, this is great stuff, and we don't have any of that on our, just realized, on our topic sheet. So I just hijacked us for 2 minutes to ode to great sports and cold beer and 100-degree weather.
Well, I think if you were to pick one person to talk about sports to for an hour, I'm the last person that you should be talking to.
Oh, that's not true. You know plenty about sports. You're an enthusiast. You go. You like the Kentucky Derby. Matter of fact, you got to come back to our house. We all should do a Kentucky Derby party every year. That's it.
We should maybe make that an annual thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was big in sports. I played sports in college. I wasn't good enough to get a scholarship anywhere, but played all the sports in high school, not all the sports in college, but I played soccer in college. I was a decent athlete, but I had kids at a young age, 21, and streaming wasn't a thing back then. On demand wasn't a thing back then. And so I just fell out of the habit of watching any sports, all sports. And it never came back for me. I've never really gotten back into the habit of just watching any sports continually. I do enjoy watching it, but I just never do. Unless it's Kentucky Derby, a Super Bowl, or big events, whatever.
David, I'm the same way. I do not. I love watching sports. And back when I was younger and had free time, I might watch 8 or 10 hours of sports a week. Now, if it's 30 minutes a week, I'm lucky for the last couple of years, unless I'm having a party around a sporting event. But then I'm cooking and drinking and socializing and not really watching the event. But it's all fun. It feels like it today, so I thought I would just share it, just let it overflow.
You were very good at hosting sport events, and I know that firsthand from being at your house last year for the Kentucky Derby. But both my kids were there as well, and my wife. It was fun.
We got to redo it. Let's bring the whole Little Messy team. Let's see if we can't work our way to owning a horse in the Kentucky Derby.
McKenna's back scene just going like this. Yes, another Arizona trip. Or we should do it in California this time, maybe.
Yeah, either one. But we'll have to see. We'll see. I like it though.
Yeah. This week looks totally different than last week. You had a bright orange hat on, a bright orange t-shirt. I had a bright red Lacoste jacket, and we're both in black and boring today.
Yeah, David, I just, was low energy last week. I think I needed to go neon to kind of raise the energy level. I don't know if it worked or not, but, looking at the pictures, it looked kind of dumb, like I look like some dude that hangs out outside of like junior high schools, trying to hand out candy bars.
We'll have to make up with our boring outfits, with our blazingly amazing personalities this hour. So let's get into what we're going to talk about. So I'm gonna, as usual, I've got a from the gut, and usually I just pick something that's just on my mind, or something I saw, or something that's trending. This week, I'm actually talking about, McKenna, pull it up. It's not that one, but you see Sylvester Stallone here in one of my favorite movies, Over the Top. It's actually not about Sylvester Stallone and Over the Top, but it's about aging and experience in the marketing social media world, and how age can play a factor if you allow it to, and the opposite. And then we're going to get into our three meatier topics that are usually housing, economy, or mortgage. Ron, lead the way on these.
Absolutely. We're going to just review some key data from the 2026 Next Gen report, and shout out to Kristen Messerly. This is by far their best report. It's the sixth one. It is so good. So David, we'll probably go long on that topic. It's worth looking at the report. So I can't wait for that topic.
Yep. And next.
This is an interesting concept, this financial nihilism, and what it is that we're going to talk about, how Gen Z, the younger generations, are taking ridiculous risks because they think they're behind, and what the impact is on housing and household formations. This is another really good topic. We're going to cover Lennar's last quarterly report, and there's really some shocking data and some trends in it. And there's clear signals about what it takes to win in the market. So I'm really looking forward to that topic too.
Yeah. And then we have a few rapid fire topics, which we usually try to spend only 3 or 4 minutes on those. So we've got a ton of stuff to talk about, and we may even have to, because we went long in our intro, and I think my From the Gut's going to be a little long this week as well. So we may or may not get to all of them. I don't think we will. So without further ado, let's get into From the Gut. All right. So this week I want to talk about, as it kind of pointed to in the title, but talking about age, getting older, while tech and online habits change and become more advanced. Like a lot of my From the Guts these days, it started with YouTube. I'm on YouTube all day. If I'm just working, I have that just kind of off to the side, just playing random videos. So I see a lot of random videos pop up. And one popped up and I watched it, never searched for it. I wasn't looking for it. It just kind of appeared. And you know exactly how that works. You watch one video, maybe two, and suddenly the algorithm decides, oh, that'll be every third or fourth video I'm going to show you now. Then suddenly you're down a rabbit hole you didn't even know existed. Well, that's exactly what happened to me with a guy named Devin Larratt. I think you've got a photo of him, McKenna. Just pull that up. But Devin Larratt, until last week, I didn't know he existed. Now, you're probably not familiar with him. I wasn't up until about a week ago. He's basically one of the legends of professional arm wrestling. He was a member of the Canadian Special Forces. He's about 6'5", long arms that look like they were just designed for arm wrestling. And he's been competing at the highest levels of arm wrestling for decades. And it especially stuck out to me. And I'm, like I said in the opening slide, I might be a little bit ashamed to admit this. Not really. But one of my favorite movies from my childhood in the 80s was Over the Top. I just actually made McKenna sit down a few months ago, 6 months ago, and made her watch it. Now she loves it as well. But the part that caught my attention specifically was how old Devin is. He's 50 years old, right on the dot, and he's still competing against guys in their 20s and their early 30s who are bigger, faster, and in many cases, technically stronger. I've got a 45-second clip so you can kind of see him in action. McKenna, go ahead and start that video.
The biggest cheering that we can give them. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Make some noise when they get going.
Devin's on the right.
Oh, amp it up. Woo! Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. On there. Come on, let's go. Woo! Let's go, Devin. Come on, Adam.
Ron, have you ever heard of this guy?
No.
I hadn't either, like I said. But on paper, if you're looking at him and this guy, and there's tons of videos where he is arm wrestling people twice his size. He probably shouldn't win those matches on paper. That other guy in that video, he was massive and didn't look like he should have lost. But if you watch Devin for long enough, something really interesting happens. The younger guys almost always start the same way. They explode right at the beginning. They're pulling as hard as they possibly can and trying to end the match immediately. You can see the intensity on their faces. Everything is about power and speed, win the match right now, and Devin just holds. He doesn't panic. He doesn't try to outmuscle them in the first few seconds. He leans back, settles into position, and sometimes even starts talking to them casually while the other guy's pulling as hard as he can. And it's almost like Devin is just relaxed while the other guy's trying to rip his arm off. The younger guy is trying to win the match in the first 10 seconds, but Devin is thinking past that. He slows the whole thing down. Eventually, you start to see the shift. The younger guy's arm starts shaking, his breathing changes, all that explosive energy starts burning out, and Devin just waits. And slowly and methodically, he starts pulling the match back toward his side of the table. Not because he suddenly became stronger, but because he understood the match better. And watching a few of those clips made me realize something. A lot of people assume that youth automatically wins, especially in today's digital age. More energy, more speed, maybe more creative. And sometimes that's true, but the veterans win a different way. They don't compete on speed, they change the map. You see this in other places too. Someone like a Gary V. He's also 50 years old and still one of the most influential voices on social media. Now he's surrounded by creators in their 20s who grew up on these platforms. They move faster, they understand trends instinctively. They grew up in the environment, but Gary built that from the ground up. He didn't win online because he was the youngest guy in the room. He won because he has 30 years of pattern recognition in marketing. He's watched cycles. He's seen what works and what doesn't. He understands attention, timing, and consumer behavior at a level that only comes from experience. And I've seen something similar close up in our industry. I worked with Casey Crawford for about 7 years. Casey is either 49 or maybe 50 now. And if you've ever watched him lead or communicate, you'll notice something pretty quickly. He's not trying to outpace everyone with trends. He's not doing silly TikTok dances. He's not trying to become louder than everyone else. What he has is perspective and empathy and compassion. He's the same online as he is in person. I remember years ago when we first started taking his social media growth seriously and started to work at it. He had a handful of followers, a healthy amount, but nothing crazy. Now he's one of the most influential voices on LinkedIn. I saw a chart, it might have been a year ago, I don't know, 6 months ago, but I think he was number 4 on the most influential people on LinkedIn. So my point is when you've been doing something long enough, you start seeing patterns other people can't see yet. You understand timing. You know when to push. You know when to wait. And maybe most importantly, you understand what actually matters. That's the part that I think people sometimes miss when they think about age in marketing, especially when it comes to social media, because this is usually where the conversation goes. People in their 40s, 50s, maybe 60s, they look at social media and think, I'm behind. I didn't grow up with this, or I don't move as fast as these young creators. And again, quite often that is true, but that doesn't mean you have to compete the same way. You don't have to dance, you don't have to chase every trend, and you don't have to win the match in the first 10 seconds because that's not your game. Your advantage is different. It's maybe experience, it's your perspective, it's knowing what actually matters to people because you've been doing it long enough to see it play out in real life. And the people who are winning on social media later in their careers, they're not trying to outpace everyone. They're doing exactly what Devin does. They slow the match down. They show up consistently. They speak from experience. They engage like real people and they find their own niche. They're not chasing attention, they're building trust. And those are two very different things because trends come and go fast, but trust compounds. So the question isn't, can you keep up? It's, are you playing the right game? Do you have the right strategy? Because social media isn't just a young person's game, it's a communication platform for anyone. And the people who understand the platform the same way Devin understands arm wrestling, those are the ones who win long term. Because the people who have been in the game long enough eventually stop trying to overpower everyone. They start understanding the match itself, and the people who understand the match usually end up winning the game. Growing up watching Over the Top, love that movie. I thought arm wrestling was just about flipping your hat backwards and craziness and overpowering the other guy. Turns out it's a lot more about patience, a lot more about control and understanding the match, just like it is in our business. That's it, Ron. Any thoughts?
Nope, that is beautiful. I don't need to put anything to tarnish it. You did great, David.
Well, thank you, sir. I usually just decide what my from the gut is going to be no more than 3 days out. They're so random, and it's usually just what I've been seeing all week. So we'll see what it is next week. Who knows where it's going to go?
That's the best segment. We should just do that the whole show. I'll just sit here and drink beers and listen to you.
All right, let's get to our other topics. Ron researches these all week and comes to the show usually with a ton of awesome thoughts and insights, and then I just kind of look and just ask questions because I'm not Ron and I'm not him.
And I'm not you, David.
McKenna, let's go with the first one.
Yeah, and McKenna and David, let's just go through the top 10 because that will cover all the topics, and we don't need to do the charts. I don't think that will really matter. So we want to cover the 2026 Next Gen Homebuyer Report from First Home IQ. First, we want to be just fanboys, a fan club of First Home IQ. It's a critical organization. I do believe, when Dave Savage says that there's a financial literacy crisis in America, and that loan officers are positioned to be on the front line to solve that crisis. I 100% subscribe to that, and I think that First Home IQ is doing a great job helping with that financial literacy crisis, and also helping people understand the role that homeownership plays in building wealth in America. And David, I know you're on the board of directors. I've mentioned it before. We've had Kristen on before, so we're just straight up fans. But this report is their best report. It's the sixth one. And let's just get to the top 10 insights. And David, we can have a little conversation around each one of them, and then we can probably move on. Some of them, kind of warrant more conversation than others. But number one on the list is Next Gen still want to become homeowners. 8 in 10 report homeownership is essential to making it. That's good. They're not, they haven't given up. I think that's a really important thing. David, I don't think there's a lot to comment on that. Do you agree?
My only comment is, what are the other two saying?
the other 2 in 10 are saying, some people are disillusioned with home ownership, and they think it's unattainable and it's not the best choice. We're going to talk about it in the next topic, I think. Number 2 is confidence in the investment has fallen. Belief that home ownership is a good investment dropped by more than half, from 88 to 41% since 2001. Now that just tells you how much opportunity there is for education. David, you and I know that, as does our audience, that homeowners have 41 times the wealth of renters, and it's something like the average homeowner. It depends on when you read this report. Has wealth around $410,000 to $450,000. The average renter has wealth around $10,000. That's just a fact. home ownership is the path to wealth in America. And so if we have Gen Zers not understanding that, that is a calling for all of us. It's an opportunity and a calling for us to get out in the streets, do home buyer seminars, go speak at colleges, go speak at high schools, go wherever you can and send the message. Wealth in the United States for most people comes through home ownership. Dave, any thoughts on that? Number two?
I would like to get McKenna's visceral reaction to hearing that the average homeowner's net worth is over 400,000, yet renters' net worth is average 10,000. McKenna, what's your reaction to that?
That makes me scared for my future.
Why?
Why? It should just make you, it should just encourage you to have the mindset of wanting to buy a house as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, but it also, say those numbers again for me, please.
The
Net
average
worth
homeowner.
is the average. Go ahead,
Oh,
Ron.
so good. The average homeowner has a net worth of around $410,000 to $450,000. The average renter has a net worth of $10,000.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that whenever I hear those numbers, it just makes me think, wow, I'm not gonna get a house.
Why? Why? You don't want to have money?
No,
Well, that
I
has
want to
nothing to
have.
do with the cost of a house. It just shows you that the benefit of buying a house early only, increases your chance of having a higher net worth.
I mean, maybe this will be very good for the next topic, but hearing those numbers just makes me feel very nihilistic.
You know what, though? McKenna, this is a really good response because it speaks to the work that we have to do as real estate and mortgage professionals. It's getting to people like you and showing you how homeownership is attainable, and through that attainment, what the benefit is. Shame on me because I'm a mortgage professional. I should spend time with you and explain. Here's a way you could achieve this. Here's a doable path. Here, whether it's your house hacking or whatever you're doing to get there, or it's managing income or expenses, but getting a path, getting your foot in, and then figuring out how to continue down that path. It's not as hard as you think. It's a little bit of education, a little bit of gumption, and a lot of discipline, and you can do it. And that leads to, and we're going to talk about this several topics today, but that leads to that wealth we're talking about. And to me, it's just every time when I speak to McKenna and somebody like you, or I read these reports, it's just so screaming so loudly that we have to get out there and educate people and help people, because this is our profession. This is our calling. Go help people attain home ownership. Tell them how it's possible. And without that, it just seems overwhelming, and that's why I like, First Home IQ and the Next Gen report.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, let's keep moving on.
And speaking of this, but education number 3, and this continues, the down payment myth persists. In 2026, only 8% correctly identified minimum down payment required, and only a quarter could answer correctly the function of mortgage insurance. The number one answer, I think, is the number one answer is 20% down, and that's 35% respondents. The next answer is 15% down, and that's 20% respondents. It's the majority of people think you need 15, 20, or 30% down. They also think you have to have, a 780 FICO score. It's all totally wrong. And that just tells you, it's just like McKenna's response. I don't know what it takes to buy a home, and it's overwhelming, and it's probably not within my grasp. But if we educate, if we could go out there and educate those generations, and show them how it is attainable, I think that we'd have a lot more success getting people into homes. Dave, what are your thoughts?
That just still surprises me every time I hear that the general population, or the majority of people, think you need 20% down. We've been hearing that. I've heard that stat now for a while, for years, and it just blows my mind every time.
Yeah, it just tells you that the gap. I mean, it tells you we're not doing our job. We have to get out into the public and educate. We can't wait to people to come to us that they think they're ready. We have to reach out to people that don't understand to show them the path. And by the way, we think we're in a tough market, a constrained market. Well, you're not in a constrained market if you expand the market to, people who don't think that they can buy, and show them how to. You'll have a wonderful career and really good production. All right, David, let's go to the next one. Now we start to turn negative. Only 1 in 8 trust the system, meaning that only 12%. So it's the better way to put it. 88% of respondents think that housing professionals will take advantage of them.
80%.
88% think they're going to get taken advantage of. 88% think that the real estate agent and loan officer are simply going to work for their commission and not and a fiduciary responsibility for that Gen Zer. And that's a real problem. So there's a huge cynicism and fear. One of the reasons I want to buy a house is because I'm just going to get taken advantage of by my real estate agent, my loan officer.
Where does that come from? Is that leftover from 2008, 2009?
McKenna, do you feel that way? I mean, just, off the cuff, if you were to walk into an open house and a real estate agent started kind of rubbing up against you, would you trust them?
Not if they're rubbing up against me.
I don't trust anybody that's rubbing up against me. But I don't know. I generally have a distrust for a lot of people, but in kind of this instance, I would be like, okay, like, I don't know what's going on. Just tell me something. So I don't
She
know.
doesn't know what she doesn't know. She's never been through it before, so.
But you would step to the table with a little bit of fear and trepidation, like, am I going to get taken advantage of? It's like how we feel when we go to buy a car. Am I about to be, molested here, or whatever it happens to be, You don't feel that way, McKenna?
I was just thrown off by you saying molested.
The word usage.
Yep.
I was going to use a different word. I toned it down. I edited myself for you.
Oh, geez. I think I know what you mean. I'm glad you didn't. That's going to totally throw the algorithm all the way off.
I quickly shifted there. So
yeah, that shift still didn't throw me off any less.
Let's go to the next one. And this one is going to, maybe we can't make it through all 10, but this fifth one's really interesting. 3/4 of next gen buyers believe homeownership is harder today than it was for their parents. Do you guys think that's true or false?
I think it's true. But I think for maybe not the same reasons the people think on this survey think, because I think people have, especially younger people today, have just gotten into the new lifestyle habits of eating out so much every weekend, spending a couple $100s at restaurant slash bar and entertainment and streaming and all of life's comforts, creature comforts, and all of that stuff. So I think, yes, I believe that, and I'm not surprised by that, but maybe not for the same reasons.
Yeah, you want to know something? So I have a LinkedIn post on this tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning at 6:30, this post is going out. I'm really happy with this post, and it was, your parents didn't have it easier, and I used historical data. And you know what the toughest period, in the last century to buy a home was? 1980s.
No,
1980s.
really,
In 1981,
because of interest rates.
It took 51% of your take-home pay to pay your mortgage. 55%.
Wow.
55. So today that number is 30%, and we're like, oh my God, this is so bad. It's so bad. Now, some people it's 44, but as I think we're going to show, or maybe we'll show or not, I think today, it's the most recent release was less than 30% for new home buyers on DTI. Your parents were paying your parents or grandparents were paying 55%. They just made a value choice to sacrifice and buy the home. And by the way, they bought a home that was 1,000 square foot on a little teeny tiny lot with like shag carpet and crappy laminate, cabinets, right? And they made a decision. It was a values place that home is community and safety. And that's where I'm gonna raise my family, right? And they didn't make sacrifices. They didn't do all the things, Dave, you're saying, they didn't have all the consumption that people have today. And so it wasn't easier for them. It wasn't, other than they just made a choice, And so check out my LinkedIn post. I have a ton of data. I use data from Black Knight as well as data from, I think, the Federal Reserve on average DTI over generations.
Yeah. Let's maybe just pick one or two of the next slide.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe the 7 is good, and that is considering alternative strategies. Over 40% would downsize or relocate to a lower cost area. 1/3 would use down payment assistance programs, and 1/4 would co-buy or rent a room. That's good. So that's the house hacking that you need. See, McKenna, here's what you don't know. You could buy a house today. You could probably buy a 4-unit house today, rent out the 3 rooms. The rent on the 3 rooms covers the mortgage, and now you're a homeowner. You can live like that for a couple of years, get equity in the house, and then do a 1031 exchange, buy up to the next thing. A nicer house, a nicer place. I mean, you can get in the game today if you wanted to. There are ways to do it.
McKenna, buy one of these townhomes that's behind our house.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Another one. It's tough to see. Gosh.
You know what? I think the last one we'll do, number 9. Gen Z is closer than they think. 2/3 save regularly, 3/4 budget, over 40% will relocate or downsize. Next gen is financially engaged but held back by myths about what actually takes to qualify. And that's part of that financial literacy crisis that First Home IQ is trying to solve. So we have gone super long. Dave, you have any comments? I told you we're going to go long on this, but this is a good topic. Make sure you read the report. Get David, if we have the ability, let's put a link down below in the show notes to this report. It's very worthwhile, not only to read the report, but get involved with First Home IQ. If you're a loan officer or even a real estate agent, consider becoming an ambassador. It's a win-win. You get to go help, serve the community and teach them about homeownership, and it generates business for you. But anyway, David, I think we've killed this topic unless you want to wrap it up with a little bow.
I'll wrap it up by saying go to firsthomeiq.com. Wonderful resource.
Perfect, David. That's great.
Yeah. I think we had more slides, but I say we move on to our next topic.
Yeah, let's go to the next topic. Producer McKenna, can we do that? Can we pivot that quickly? Bang. Nihilism. All right, this is a really interesting article. This, I think, originally was in Bloomberg is what we're using. And here's what it says, is that many young adults are looking to high-risk areas such as prediction markets, sports betting, and crypto to reach financial goals faster. And this is actually according to a Northwestern Mutual Planning and Progress study, right? And so nearly 1/3 of Gen Zers surveyed said they were putting money into or considering putting money into sports betting and prediction markets, which most believe these vehicles can get them to their goals more quickly. How scary is that? And just 50% of Americans surveyed said they felt financially secure with some sense of financial nihilism and seeking shortcuts to wealth due to limited job opportunities, expensive housing costs, and student loan debt. And we've covered this before, David. The Gen Zers now, they are looking at the stock market. It's almost like a gambling arena, and they're doing it to try to get ahead, right? And then they're into crypto and these prediction markets. And David, have you ever gone to a prediction market or tried to make a bet on one of those two platforms?
I have not.
I never have, but I've looked at, read articles and where you can bet on some obscure thing, and it could pay 50,000 to 1. So it's like $10 and you make like 500. I mean, it's like crazy odds. Now, here's what I don't understand, David. Talk about nihilism. You want to talk about real nihilism? When you make a bet that the earth is going to end. Now, let me just ask you, how do you collect that bet? Like, I'm betting $10 the world is going to end next Wednesday, and I'm going to get 2 million to 1. Excuse me, the earth is over.
Is that an actual example?
Yeah, you know what? They actually took that bet down. The people were really betting on the end of the earth. I swear to you. Like, that's the peak nihilism. Not to mention stupidity.
That's basically just betting on the fact on your own death. I bet I'm gonna put $500 down on me dying tomorrow.
But how do you collect if the earth ends? That's the whole thing. And I love this new feature.
Exactly.
Note from the producer. I love that. Thank you.
So nihilism is the philosophical belief that life lacks inherent meaning.
Yeah. You know what? By the way, on those prediction markets, they also they're taking down death predictions. A whole bunch of people had placed wagers at very high odds that on the day that Khomeini was going to get killed, and they're refusing to pay those bets because they won't pay off on death. But anyway, right. Yeah. So anyway, that's the whole point. We don't have to go deeper in this topic. It's just it dovetails to what we just talked about, the First Home IQ. It's just people are a little mixed up right now, and they're desperate because they don't see and McKenna, you were a great not an example of this, but you were a good way to demonstrate this. They just don't understand the way forward. And without that understanding, then that's when all this other desperation and misbelief and nihilism comes into play. And we just got to get out into the streets and, and attack that. This chart right here just shows the level of risk that different generations are willing to take. Obviously, Gen Zers are taking the most risk, far more than any other generation. Boomers, they're like not taking any risk at all. They're rich. They don't want any risk. They're just going to sit on their eggs like Horton and try to protect their investments. But let's move on, David. I think we got this. Let's catch up on a little time here.
Let's do it. We're talking about Lennar in this next one, I think.
Yeah, so Lennar came out with their fourth quarter public report, and I think McKenna, we have some stats here that we'll just kind of go through, and we'll talk about a new reality, and we'll kind of lead you along with these stats. This is just telling you how they're dropping their price per home. Their average price per home right now is priced in at about 2017. So that's what they're and from peak to bottom here, it's been about a 24% decline in the average price of a home. Now that's because they're smaller, less amenities, but it's also because they cut their margins. We'll see that in a second. Let's get to the data, McKenna, because the data is really interesting.
I bought a Lennar home in 2013, 2 years before that graph started.
David, they're serviceable. They're nice homes. They're towards the entry level home. And they're usually a pretty good bargain. So let's look at Lennar in Q1. The revenue is plunged by 13% year over year. That's not good. Their operating earnings from home building plunged 54%. That's probably not good. Earnings before income and taxes plunged 57%. That's probably challenging. Their net earnings overall already plunged 56%. These are kind of repetitive.
Jeez.
But here's the thing: incentives. The average incentive per home was 14%. So look at this. They've already dropped prices 24% from the peak. And then they're adding 14% more for incentives, which is just super crazy, right? So all those incentives and lower prices slashes gross margin down to 15.2%. Now that's in the peak when we're in the pandemic, they got to almost 27%. But I know a lot of builders that would close down if they were below 20% because they just have so much risk that they wouldn't play for less than 20%. 15.2 is thin. It doesn't feel thin, but it is super thin when you're talking about that much capital. So let's look at some other stats, which are all really interesting. And then David, I'll get your feedback.
Are these stats similar, you think, across the board for all builders, or is this specific to Lennar?
No, we're going to talk about it. They're not at all. Lennar's taking a very specific strategy, a counter strategy to the industry, which is how we're going to end these points right here. So we already talked about the average price per home plunged by 8.3% year over year and 24%, or by $118,000 from the peak in 2022. They're expecting home prices to continue to fall down to $372,500 in this next quarter. But look what's happened. So they've cut their margins. They're giving huge, concessions. All bad until you get their strategy. They have one strategy. The only strategy they care about: market share. That's all they care about right now. They're like, bring the pain. We'll put so much pain on our competitors. We're gonna just consume the market, right? So their deliveries have soared since 2021 and 2022, right? In 2026, they expect to deliver almost 17,000 homes. That's up 37% from 2021. That's crazy. By the way, that's in a market, right, where sales of existing single-family homes have plunged by 32%. So they're outperforming other builders by far. Now, they're not outperforming on profit, but they are gobbling up market share like crazy, and that's their strategy. And in their quarterly report, they said, hey, look, we're only tracking one thing: market share. That's all we care about, market share. And it just tells you, if you want the market share, it's out there. If you want to take the pain and then also spread the pain to your peers, it's out there. You got to be aggressive. You got to be well funded. But these are crazy numbers, David. How does that strike you?
I'm curious what mortgage companies have followed a similar strategy with saying screw it with profit and it's all about a market share.
Better.com tried that, and then they went bankrupt. But they're coming back strong right now. But that's one example, right? Where they say we don't care how much profit we're going to make, we just care about how many loans we're going to do. And I don't understand, if you're losing $5,000 per loan, doing more loans doesn't help you. But
Right.
nevertheless, they're back stronger than ever, and they're doing great stuff. I mean, they've been in the news every day with great. So I do not want to pick on Better, but it has been tried, David. And sometimes people do try it, but see, it's hard. It's hard. We already have such thin margins, David, where Lennar still has 13% or 14% margins. On a $500,000 home, that's not peanuts. Where we're doing we'll talk about it next week, but we do a $400,000 mortgage. We're lucky to get 10 basis points pre-tax, and that's pre-risk. So that's a whole lot of problem.
So mortgage companies on just generally have more tolerance for risk than builders.
Yeah, they in some ways they do. Yes, builders are a different animal, David. They gotta, they're today they're initiating the product today that will be on the market in like 8 years or like 10 years, and so their whole timeline of strategy is completely different than a lender.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. All right. I thought that was super interesting. If you have any other comments, David, let's keep moving. Let's catch back up on time.
Let's do it. All right, we're moving into our rapid fire topics. So our first one, we're talking about fear of becoming obsolete.
Yeah,
Now,
the fear of
we debated what image to show yesterday because we've got Google on here, we've got Sony on here. Obviously, I don't think they're going obsolete anytime soon, but I'm sure they have the discussion in the boardroom of how to prevent themselves from going obsolete because, hey, we all thought Blockbuster at one point was the bee's knees. I just said bee's knees. I am old. But anyway,
Good
take it away, Ron.
God, you're old.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So as David already hinted to, the new phrase is FOBO or FOBO, however you want to say it. The fear of becoming FOBO, the fear of becoming obsolete, mainly due to AI. And this applies to all of us, by the way. It applies to all of us. I don't know if you guys saw the article this week about the man in Florida that sold his house completely using AI. Really interesting. His AI was his agent. Really walked him through the whole thing. He sold it in 5 days above asking price, different than what the market outcomes were. And so we all face, are we becoming obsolete? And if you go to this next slide, which is kind of gives you a kind of a view of this, tells you what the biggest industries were in 1900 and what they are today. And you can see that 80% of the industries that were super important and relevant in 1900 aren't even not even an industry today. Like the whole in a century, everything changes, and so everything changes. The question is, and David, if we had a lot of time, we could do a whole show on this. What can you do to not become obsolete? And when David, you and I love talking about this, and I think we used this. I think it came up last week. We used a term that Steve Brown, the futurist, quoted, and that is you have to become superhuman to not become obsolete. And superhuman just means you optimize and maximize technology, and then you wrap your humanity around it and deliver an experience and a product that people absolutely cherish. It's as simple as that. But it starts with, you have to master the technology so that it doesn't replace you. And then once you master this technology, you have to add value on top of the technology, right? And then once you add value on top of the technology, you have to put your humanity on top of that. And that makes you superhuman, and you will not become obsolete because you cannot be replaced. But it's easier said than done, David. And you and I talk about that in our own business quite a bit. So we actually, in our own way, not struggle with this, but debate this concept all the time.
Yeah. I've got some thoughts, but McKenna, while I'm speaking, could you zoom in on the 2026 wheel? There's so many on there that they're too small to read. But I saw, and while she's doing that, I saw a clip of a guy who, I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if he was an executive, a real estate agent, or what, but he was at a real estate event and he was basically crapping on people who are constantly saying the phrase AI won't replace agents, but agents who use AI will replace agents who don't, and he was crapping on people for that because it's the new term phrase that people are saying over and over again, much like I've hated the whole thing with branding professionals, be authentic, and using that as their main thing, which I'm not saying being authentic. You shouldn't be authentic on social media. My perspective was that that's just a given. And what was my point in this, Ron? I do that so
So the
often.
dude was critical of, AI won't replace people, but people using AI will replace people. What part was he critical about with that? What part did he believe?
I think it's just because it's a catchphrase that everyone on stage over the last 12 months, 18 months have now gone on stage and said that and think that they're an expert in it. And so while I agree with that, I also agree with the phrase in of itself, that people will maybe not replace those that don't use it, but yeah, well, I'm blabbering on. McKenna just told me to shut up. A short story long. Um, so it's easy to say that. It's become a catchphrase, but it is true in essence.
Well, the one thing about technology is it exponentially raises your productivity. And so if you think you can be a less productive human being and be more successful, you might have gone to a different econ class than I did. Um,
Huh,
but maybe.
yeah. So these are interesting ones in here. You see drinks is on there. Travel and
I can't imagine that, David.
leisure or
I don't know
leisure.
what the hell they're talking about, really.
That's hilarious that drinks is on there now.
It's like monster drinks, like all those they're selling for billions of dollars, dude. They're
Do you think
skyrocketing.
it's that kind of stuff, or do you think it's more alcohol?
No, I think it's totally like that. It's
Yeah.
all that stuff is a crazy, segment.
Right, right. All right, moving on. McValue is a
Love this.
mood.
Yeah, I had David, I had a LinkedIn post early this week, and I called it McValue 2.0 might be the most bullish housing story of the week. And my point was, it is the same thing, David, that's a recurring theme in what we talk about. A lot of the affordability challenge, and it's real. Certainly, it takes a significant portion of your income now to afford a home, but it's that income is competing for so many other options, like so many other
Right.
quality of life things, like eating out all the time, like going to Starbucks every morning, like all the streaming services, like all these things that we want, that we think we deserve, like the $1,000 a month car payment, which is bananas. All those things, they're competing, and so that your overall available cash is dwindling to buy a house. And so I love the fact that McDonald's is lowering prices because it's going to leave potential homeowners more money to buy their dang house. And that was really my topic from that. But it was also interesting. They're struggling to try to get back the value narrative. It got away from them during the pandemic when burgers got up to $10 and they killed their value menu, and now they're trying to reclaim it, as are quite a few other fast food restaurants. McKenna, we have one slide here, I think.
We did not.
We did not.
I've
Okay.
I've
Um,
I've got a
yeah.
I've got a question on this one. Outside of basic goods, groceries and that kind of thing, when you're talking not high end, um, but medium to large size purchases, and I'll include homes, cars, but other things. Um, if you have to uh, HVAC equipment and all that kind of stuff, what has seen the largest rise in what has seen the largest price rise in price of stuff outside of basic goods? Is it homes? Is it automobiles? Is it something else? Is it technology? Is it computers? Is it what computers I think have gone down, but
It's not technology because the cost of technology is dropping. And David, I'm
Mhm.
going to shoot off my cuff, and so McKenna, you can give us the true quote or whatever. I think it's healthcare, education; those are leaders,
Mm,
and
mm,
rising prices. Um,
yeah.
food, the cost of food in and cost of food out is also significant. And now, of course, going forward, energy is going to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, are you talking about because of what's going on in the Middle East, or are you talking about
Absolutely.
just the increased demand with all the new AI servers and all that kind of stuff?
That's true. So we're already going to have an energy problem because of all this demand. But if you listen to the price of gasoline is up 43% since the beginning of the war, that will trickle through the economy because almost everything uses gas in one way or another, either for product
Right.
delivery or product construction. And so it's going to reverberate. And I don't think we're done. I think, we're going to see prices continue to go up. That's going to put a lot of strain on the marketplace. And it's
Yeah.
going to take a while for it to go away.
Right. Yeah. Oh, what do we got? Americans spend roughly 110 billion to 160 billion annually on fast food, with individual spending averaging around 1,200 to over 1,500 per year.
David, people spend more going out than they do at home.
I believe it. What do you mean by that? Obviously, if you're going out, you're spending money. If you're staying
No, they spend
home, you're
more
not.
money
But
annually on going out than they do annually at eating at home.
that's not surprising.
Really? Is that what your family does?
Wait, say that one more time.
People spend more money every year going out to eat than they spend buying groceries at the store.
Oh, okay. Collectively for the whole 12 months?
Yes.
So let's say people go out twice per week to eat. Some people 3, 4, or whatever. Let's say you go out twice per week, or what's the average? People go out to eat twice per week, so that's 104 times per year. And
McKenna,
they
I'm going to
spend
interrupt you
more
there.
on those.
McKenna, your friends, Gen Zers, how often do you think they go out to eat in a week? 10 times? 12 times? 15 times? What do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean, I eat out a decent amount. I usually eat out maybe once, twice a week.
Yeah, thinking if you were living in an apartment, I can tell you, David, kids, it's either breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or lunch and dinner, or breakfast and dinner every day.
What?
Every day. McKenna,
Maybe I just
is that kind of your experience?
I mean, I also don't have that many friends. So,
Aw.
aw,
Oh, everybody.
I spend too much
Oh.
time hanging out with you two old farts, so.
We're gonna have to start a dating service online here. No, I'm kidding.
I
Yeah.
don't need that. I'm set in
No,
that
no,
apartment.
no. No, but David, that's really true. I mean, and that's not just Gen Zers, not just young people. A lot of people, a lot of families don't cook. They just go out all the time. It's just what they do. It's
Mm.
just part of our culture today. Now, I know that's not what you experience. It's not what I experience. But is that crazy? It's not that they go out and blow out 2 big meals. It's like they eat out breakfast and lunch and dinner.
Wow. I might eat out once or twice a week. That's it.
Yeah. I'm guessing Kelly has a pretty tight rope on you on that.
She does. She does.
Yeah. She's a
All
good
right.
cook. She takes care. All right, so that's that. We can move on. We wandered
So
a little
we've
bit.
got 2 more rapid fires, but we talked about getting rid of the last one, which I think we'll do. But I do want to talk about this next one. Your dead battery costs more.
Yeah, this is shocking right here. So you guys may not know, but companies like Lyft and Uber, they have algorithms that calibrate how much they're going to charge you based on how desperate you are. So for example, if your battery's almost dead, they can tell, they
Battery on
read
your
what you're
phone.
doing on your phone, and so they're going to charge you more because they know you can't call somebody else. You're going to accept the fee. They'll also do it by geo fencing or geo location. Like, are you in a place that will take high fees? Are you a place that can afford it? They use all these things in their logarithm to quote you the price. It's not everybody. We could both be standing next. We can each be standing next to each other and get a totally different price based on these things. Now they completely deny it, but it doesn't mean it's not true. And Congress is starting to sniff around, because there's nothing else more important than Uber, apparently. But is that amazing, David? Would you think that?
It's very surprising. Who's the source on that one? How credible is that report?
Yeah, so this is quoted. This was from an article in Gizmodo, and it happens to be because what lawmakers have been debating lately. So it's pretty legitimate. As a matter of fact, there's a bill, Senate Bill 259, that prevents retailers and like Uber from using artificial intelligence to be able to optimize their price specifically to each individual, meaning the highest tolerance they're willing to pay. Right.
Yeah. I mean, think about all the laws we have in housing and mortgage to prevent what's the right term? What am I thinking of? To where you can't price a loan from
Yeah,
one
fair
person
lending.
because maybe it's fair lending, maybe it's
Yeah.
ethnicity, maybe it's something else. But that's kind of what it sounds like to me. Not that you can racially profile someone based off the level of their battery. And it's a, I'm not comparing the two things, but that's what it makes me think of. And how ethical that is. And yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
a really interesting art. Yeah,
Oh,
McKenna, what do you
sorry.
got?
I was just gonna say, I will say that the battery percentage 100% shocked me. I had no idea about that. Where it charging you more based on where you are doesn't shock me at all. As I said, I'm good in the partner
yeah,
department. I was at like a nice place, a fancy steak restaurant with my partner, and he was gonna order me an Uber home, and it was gonna cost $100. So we ordered one to go back to his place and then order me one home from his place, which was about
which was further away.
15, 20 minutes away, further away from my house, and it was gonna cost $35.
Wow. Couldn't you just walked over to the Waffle House and called Uber?
Really could've.
See, I don't have an ethical problem with that because that's just supply and demand. You, but the other one with the dead battery,
Supply and demand is surge pricing. What happens is you start to be discriminatory if you start pricing because it could be, you don't know who that pricing is against. Is it a protected class? You can't
mm,
you can't defend against that. So you don't know if you're discriminating, even though you're optimizing your price.
mm, okay. How I would think Apple is so big on security. I would be surprised if Uber can even read an iPhone's battery level if it's more targeted towards Android devices because they're famously more open than Apple is, but I don't know.
I would argue that Apple's probably selling the data to these different places.
Jeez.
I know it's a cynical view.
Yeah.
You're like, not my Apple.
No. uh what do you say, Ron? Do you want to skip the last one or do you want to
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
skip
Let's
the
bring it
last
home.
one? All right.
Let's, yeah.
AI tip of the week. Let's go.
AI. This is a really interesting one. And McKenna, do we have slides on this? Do we have, other than this? Do we have another slide?
Yes, we have one
Tell
more slide after
AI
this.
what
And
done means.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
here's what it is. Your AI efficiency and its accuracy goes up exponentially if you just simply tell it when it's done. And we don't do that. We tell it what to do, but we don't tell it when it's done. And I think we got some points on this. Um, so here's the thing: super simple. When you're doing the prompt, you go, "Hey, you are done when blank," and then tell it when you're done. And then you give us some examples, like you are done when the summary is under 100 words and covers 3 main points, right? Or you are done when you listed 5 next steps, each with an owner and a deadline. Or like when you're drafting an email, you are done when the email is under 150 words. It ends with a clear ask, right? If you tell it how it actually is done, you'll stop it from just wandering around using too many words and it's trying to answer too many things. Just say, here's what I need you to do, and here's how you know when you're done, and you'll improve your the productivity of your AI tool by like 5x. Simple as that. How do you like that, David?
I'm torn on this one because what is it? ChatGPT just came out with 2 new models last week or this week, 5.3 and 5.4. What was it?
That's correct. No, so last week they came out with 5.3 and 5.4. This week they came out with 5.4 mini and 5.4 fast, I think.
Jeez. So last week I noticed a change in ChatGPT where I'd be working with it and I thought that it was done or I thought that I was done, but every single time I got a new prompt or a new answer to a prompt or a question, it said, would you like me to uh, do one more thing? It would answer in that way. And I found myself, I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was new at first, but I was like, yeah, that sounds good. Go ahead. And then I gave my response and then it did it again. Would you like me to improve that or make that more concise or make this whatever? It kept on giving me the option for more. It reminded me of, like I said, in From the Gut, talking about when you watch one video on YouTube or any platform and you stay on it for more than 3 or 5 seconds, that the algorithm learns and it feeds you more and more and more. So I saw that change with ChatGPT. I was like, and I quite often found that the answers it was giving me really weren't that helpful. I was like, either I already knew that or that's BS or whatever. And so I've started thinking about this, and so it's relevant to the last 7 days for me. I'm like, dear Lord, I spent 30 minutes on this conversation in chat where it should have taken 3 minutes. And really didn't get much more value out of it. So yeah, helping chat to know, all right, I'm done. Don't need this anymore. I don't need to go any further down the rabbit hole. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how the updated models are really focusing on retention and engagement. It's almost like with
Hmm.
social media, focusing on you getting to click more. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure why, because it seems like that would take more tokens, but it's definitely their strategy, and it's completely changed. And it's not across all. Claude does it, Gemini does it, Perplexity. I was on Perplexity today; it was doing it. ChatGPT does it. It's an interesting new strategy, which we'll have to see where that's going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it does take more tokens, but that's how they get you to upgrade to the paid plan or the higher plan and whatever, because it'll tell you, don't have enough tokens. So it's a pay to play.
Pay to play. All right, let's wrap this up on time. 1 minute late. Who would have thought so? We're slow to the start, and then we picked up the pace.
Yeah. All right, we'll end it. I don't have any final thoughts. We'll end it. McKenna, bring yourself on camera, and we'll end with a cheers from all three of us. So if you've joined us
Hey,
either
David,
live or, yeah.
No, I was going to do the same thing. We were saying not any final thoughts. Do us a favor. If you check this out, we appreciate you. Follow us. Check us out, Little Nessie. Sign up, subscribe, follow us. You can get more great stuff like this. So with that,
Mostly on YouTube. Head to our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to us. We've got some new stuff coming out soon. So we're excited to talk about it. But cheers, McKenna and Ron. Happy Thursday.
cheers.
Have a great weekend. See you next week.